All right, so I'm recording this video in my garage, and I just want you to know why I'm wearing so much clothing, because my kids are actually outside playing, so I'm leaving the door open, and it's freezing here. It's snowy everywhere. So one of my favorite ways to start are with these big sweeping arm circles where you're keeping your fingertips on the ground the whole time. It can really help open up that thoracic spine or that upper back. Don't rush them. Do about 10 on each side. Next, you're going to come on over to all fours, and you're going to retract your shoulder blades, or imagine pulling them down and away from the middle of your back, and then sitting back on your heels while you hold that press through your shoulder blades. Moving at a moderate pace, and really engaging your lats as you pull back up. Now you're going to thread the needle, so you're going to slide one hand all the way under the other arm, and once your shoulder is pinned under and twisted, you'll sit back and relax. You can even reach out that other arm. Hold that for a few seconds, at least 10, and then place that same hand behind your head and open up your spine for a breath or two. Then you're going to switch sides and repeat. You can use a basketball, soccer ball, or in this case I've got a hard med ball for this next move, and you're just going to find right about your bra line, and then you can imagine where that is, and then take a couple of really deep breaths and try to almost imagine your upper back and your spine just laying down and growing heavy on top of the ball, so it just can kind of release some of those really tight vertebrae. And then after you've done 2 or 3 breaths or feel a bit of release, you're going to move it just a centimeter up and take another few deep breaths and release so that your spine kind of falls over that ball and just releases. Now you're going to pull your hands together tightly to your chest, and keeping a really tall spine, you're going to just pull all the way to one side and still pulling tightly against each hand for a count of a couple of breaths, and then switch to the other side, always keeping that tension on the hands and elbows. You can use any sort of small-ish hard ball, like a softball, lacrosse ball, maybe even a really firm, if you have a tennis ball or something. And you're just going to find kind of that spot where there's a little bit of zing behind your shoulder blade. Next up, some big sweeping arm circles. Forward for 4 or 5, and then reverse direction and go backwards. If you remember nothing else from this video and all the mobility exercises, if you're ever getting up from sitting for a long time, get some sort of softball or a lacrosse ball, or like a ball like I have here, and set it in your hip flexors, and then just lay down your body weight on it and hold and breathe. Once you feel it release, you can kind of find the next spot that's a little bit spicy and hold and breathe until that releases. But spend a good several minutes on each side of your hips. And some good old hip presses, which you've seen a few times now because they're one of the best moves you can do to open your hips. Just in a kneeling lunge, pressing forward and feeling it in that back hip. And then I want you to change up after you've done both sides and press out at about 2 o'clock with that knee, and really feel it through the groin as well as the back hip. Take a little walk on your heels, really exaggerating that motion. This is even better barefoot or with socks. Go forward and backward a few times. And then switch it around to walk on your toes, back and forth a few times. You want to get to fatigue on these, so probably a lot longer than what's shown here. Next, some simple ankle circles. Go both directions, maybe just 5 turns in each direction should be plenty. And do that on both legs. With your foam roller next, you're going to just lay that lower leg or Achilles on top and kind of Just go back and forth a couple of times. If you need more pressure, you can stack that other leg up on top. Notice that you're holding your hips up off the ground to add some of that pressure. And then you can do a little side-to-side toggle as well, and changing the pressure based on whether you have that leg on top or not, and how hard you're kind of pushing into your hands and how high you're lifting your hip. Next up, some fun balance. So you're going to balance on one leg. You can have a weight or anything up above your head, and you're basically just doing sort of a gate hinge with that other leg. So you're going to bring it up and then out and then back in and down. Try not to even unload though onto your leg. Try to keep balanced on your standing leg for as long as possible. For the speed skater slide, you're going to get a nice low lunge position on one side and then try to keep your butt low the whole time. You have the option of holding a weight if you want to make it a little more intense, and you should go wide enough with your legs that you feel a stretch through your inner thigh. Next up, Tippy Twist, which you're getting familiar with. So you're going to just balance on that one leg, reach the leg back, open up the hips, close the hips again, and come back to balance, all without setting down your foot. And for the hip bridge, you'll do a normal hip bridge where you tuck your tailbone, imprint your spine, lift up your hips, and then slowly open and then close your legs before setting your hips back down again. Get ready to laugh because this is the butt scoot. You're just going to lift up one cheek and one leg at a time and scoot your way up to the front of your mat and then work your way backwards. The hip bridge with marching legs. So this is going to take a lot of glute and hamstring strength. If that's too much, you can do a regular hip bridge or just lift your heel with keeping your toe still on the ground. That's a way to sort of progress up to this one. The bear crawl. We're going to do it two different ways. You're going to almost imagine that you're balancing something on your back, not shifting your hips, not shifting your upper back, keeping your knees up off the mat. You're going to go forward and backward. And then you're going to turn yourself around sideways and you're going to walk side to side. With this one, you have to make sure that your hands are going apart when your knees are coming together so you don't lose your balance, and then vice versa. Your hands will come together as your knees go apart.